Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor. Really grateful to have you here. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 10 picks for the month of February. So these are just the fragrances out of my own collection that I've been reaching for the most this month. We're just about halfway through the month, so I'm a little late getting this video up. But without further ado, I'm just going to get right into the list. So for the month of February, because of the emphasis on date night that the month tends to bring to the foreground, I like to incline towards my Gourmand style fragrances. So notes like vanilla, chocolate, cherry, and rose are really going to be the major players in this list. So the number 10 spot, I found out about this fragrance from Sam Broom. Check out Sam Broom's channel. This was in one of his affordable picks for wintertime. So you can find this right around $20, and that is Roberto Cavalli Him. So what you get here with this fragrance is it's kind of like if you ever have tried L'Instant de Guerlain or Dior Homme Intense. There's like that powdery chocolate Nesquik accord that is underlying, at least in L'Instant de Guerlain, underneath of the citruses, and then in Dior Homme underneath of the iris. So this is that powdery, dry Nesquik type chocolate, but that's all it is. So in some sense, it's like half of a fragrance, but this is really great for layering. So if you wanted to add a little bit of that dry, chocolatey quality that you get in L'Instant de Guerlain to another fragrance, this is going to be a pick for you. It is a little bit not synthetic. It smells really good. They list rose in here as a fragrance note. I don't really get rose. To me, this is like musk and dry chocolate. But I do keep on going back to this one. I love sniffing it. You know, once I put it on my skin, I can't get enough of it. It's very simple. Like I said, it's in some sense like half of a fragrance and something that's really great for layering, but really good for this time of the year. Date night is really great for this one. It's a little bit intimate in terms of its projection, but yeah, dry chocolate, cacao, musk is what you're going to be getting with this fragrance right here, and for under $20, it's definitely worth checking out. Roberto Cavalli Him. Also gets compared to Black Afgano on Fragrantica. I've not tried Black Afgano, but this definitely has like a sweet cola vibe to it. So that's the number 10 spot, Roberto Cavalli for Him. Number 9 spot, recently did a full review on this one. This is Roberto Cavalli Womo. So what you get here is violet dominance with a powdery honey, tonka bean, cedar, lavender, patchouli. Just a nice sensual date night fragrance. Comes off a little bit generic, but like develops into something really unique. Beautiful, sensual, syrupy honey with violet. And then it also has a number of flankers, which you may be familiar with, but they're either discontinued or hard to find. So this is the easiest one to get your hands on. Still a cheapie. You can find it for right around $30, $35. Definitely worth checking out. One of my favorites in the winter time, especially for date night situations in the month of February. That is Roberto Cavalli pour Homme. Roberto Cavalli Womo. Okay, number 8 spot. So this is a little bit of a hidden gem. This is the same perfumer who did Leighton, Percival, Sedley, Pegasus. So you know you're getting a quality craftsmanship behind this fragrance. The house is a little bit unknown, Angel Slusher, and the name of this fragrance is Sublime Rose. So it gets compared to Tom Ford's Noir de Noir on Fragrantica. I've not smelled Noir de Noir, but you get a beautiful jammy rose here. It's somewhat reminiscent of Shagaf Oud, but done way better. Even though Shagaf Oud I think is a fine fragrance, this blows it out of the water. It just has that really sweet, sensual rose with a little bit of saffron in there to kind of help give it some sparkle. And I think cypress might be another one of the fragrance notes in here that gives it a little bit of like a green woodiness to it as well, that kind of makes it a little bit more mature and dressed up and elegant. Real hidden gem, one of my favorites. I love wearing this one to bed. It's perfect for a dressed up formal occasion. Definitely it leans a little bit masculine, I think, because of the woody cypress greenness in here, but it's easily unisex. Like I said, really, this would be a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day fragrance. This is Sublime Rose from the House of Angel Slusher. You can find this one for right around $60, but if you get a good deal, I got mine for like $43. So keep an eye out for this one, Sublime Rose from the House of Angel Slusher. Okay, next one is pretty mass appealing, one of my biggest compliment getters. A little bit sweet for my taste nowadays. I incline towards wearing this one more in my 20s. Now that I'm in my 30s, I think it's a little bit sweet and youthful, but it's still, like I said, it's compliment getter, mass appealing. This is Rojas Man. So dominantly a sweet lavender fragrance with a little bit of a raspberry touch, and then there's a cappuccino note listed. It's very subtle, the term in terms of coffee that you get off of this. You can definitely pick it up, but I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a coffee fragrance. But yeah, nice creamy sweet lavender with a little bit of raspberry fruitness in here. Maurice Rossell was the perfumer behind this, so you know you're getting a good creation here as well, because you do have a trained nose working on it. A little bit goofy of a bottle. And then also I hear that they're re-releasing a limited edition intense version of this, so keep your eyes out for that one in terms of this year's releases. I'm pretty excited to try that one. It's supposed to have pink juice in it, but other than that, like I said, this one is probably you know, one of the top compliment pullers on this list. This is Rojas Man. You can usually find this for under $30 as well. Okay, moving into the number 6 spot, we have Ristretto Intense Cafe from Montel. So this fragrance, it takes the Intense Cafe DNA, if you're familiar with that. If you're not, it's like a very floral, it's rose dominant with a nice floral musk. Is the best way to describe it. Like a musky rose is really what you're getting mostly here, and then the original Intense Cafe wasn't that cafe-esque, like the coffee wasn't as present. With this Ristretto here, which Ristretto I think is like a type of espresso shot, you do get a really nice dose of coffee in here. Unfortunately, it's kind of gone with the top notes, which don't stick around all that long, but beautiful, sensual fragrance. It's a perfect rose fragrance for this time of year. For Montel, I have not tried Chocolate Greedy. That's another fragrance that I think could have been fine for February, but I do love my rose, and this one does it pretty well. I actually rather enjoy this one for myself. I like wearing it around the house because it's just so sensual and loud. Very satisfying, and definitely the one out of the original or this one, I would go with this one just because of that added coffee. But if you don't like coffee, then I would avoid this fragrance altogether since it's got cafe in the name. But definitely worth checking out, Ristretto Intense Cafe from Montel. All right, moving into the top 5. This one is a patchouli fragrance. It's got chocolate listed in the note breakdown, I believe, on Fragrantica, but the chocolate accord, I think, is built off of a patchouli. One of the things that the best way I can describe this fragrance is that when Aaron Terrence Hughes, if you're not familiar with his channel, he's a perfumer who's got a really, really trained nose, and he's a really skilled chemist and is excellent at his craft. But when he smelt this one and did a review on it, he cried, and I think that's enough of a description or a telltale sign that this fragrance is incredible, and that is Pardon from Nasamato. So a lot of people compare this to the original L'Instant de Guerlain Extreme. I've not smelled that fragrance, but this, like I said, it just is a beautiful, sensual, dark chocolate style patchouli fragrance. Extrait de Parfum, so it's like a very dense fragrance. I know this is the biggest bottle size they have, 30 ml. I've gone through a little bit of it, but you don't need a lot. You can spray 1 or 2 times because it's so concentrated, and you're going to be having nuclear projection with this one. But like I said, just a beautiful patchouli fragrance, and if you want to get that chocolate vibe for the month of February, as I do, this is definitely one to keep your eyes out for. I think this is running for right around $120. Well worth that amount of money, even though it's a 30 ml. This will last you a really long time, similar to like Dior Sauvage Elixir. It's the only reason it's not higher up on the list is because it is a little bit more difficult to find a situation to wear this one. It's not quite as versatile, but really perfect for date night occasions. That is Nascimento Pardon. Okay, number 4 spot. Recently discontinued, so I wanted to include it in this list now so you can go ahead and try to pick one up. Hopefully they'll be bringing it back because I think they're doing a bottle redesign for the entire line over at Armani, but this is Armani Code Absolute, one of the best vanilla fragrances that I own in my collection. Vanilla, leather, a little bit of, I think there's some like orange kind of top notes going on in here, but this is one of the fragrances that like blew my mind when I was first getting into fragrances. I tried this on my skin at a Sephora, and as I was leaving the mall, it was just like, you know, like I could feel serotonin just like pumping into my brain from like how amazing this smelled. Like I said, I really hope they just bring it back in a different bottle. But really worth like hunting down and getting your hands on before it completely dries up in its stock at the moment. You know, I'd be willing to pay for, you know, like probably 100, 110 for this 100 ml bottle. If you can find that for like that price, I think that's a good price point for this one. Even though you used to be able to find it for cheaper, obviously, but I still think it's worth $100, $110 worth for this size bottle. Like I said, one of the best vanillas I've ever smelled. Vanilla, leather, just beautiful, sensual fragrance, and incredible for date night, but it's also good for just wearing out in the cold because it's got a pretty good level of projection. That's Armani Code Absolute. Okay, the top 3. This one is a recent addition to my collection. I really like it. It's a little bit more of a grown-up version of this. Like I said, I'm inclined to wearing this more in my 20s, but it's a little bit sweet for me now that I'm in my 30s. But this kind of dries down to, or this fragrance here dries down to that kind of scent profile with having a really nice grown-up aromatic green quality on the top of it, and that is Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Le Parfum. So this definitely has the original Le Male DNA. That's kind of what it opens up with, but then it has that really nice kind of sweet lavender in the bottom that's similar to this one, makes it a little bit more dark. But it's very elegant, very much more grown up, very much a nice sweet fragrance for a man in his 30s. The hype on this one, I think it's a little bit overblown just because it is newer and this isn't you know, exactly as wow of a fragrance as the number 2 and 1 spot in this list are, but definitely worth getting your hands on this one. You could probably, you know, test it out. I think they should probably have this at Sephora and places like that since it's a newer release. But I really enjoy it, and I think this is perfect for date night and one of my favorites for the month of February. This is Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Le Parfum. Okay, number 2 spot. This is, I think, the only cherry fragrance in the list. I know cherry was like one of the notes or accords that I strive to be wearing in the month of February. So this was the only one in the list that has that cherry note, but it does it so well. Incredible for a man's fragrance as well. So you've got L'Homme Ideal, Guerlain, L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. As you can see, juice level is getting really low. Luckily, I do have a backup bottle of this one. The dent don't lie, as my guy T Smellgood says. This is a fragrance that I adore wearing. I've clearly put a huge dent in it. This is actually already my 2nd bottle. So I'm about to be on my 3rd bottle of this fragrance. One of my favorites, one of the earliest I got in my collection, so that's why that's helped me burn through it as fast as I have. But you know, if the dent isn't enough of an explanation that you should go and get your hands on this one, it's just a beautiful cherry, vanilla, almond fragrance with some leather as well. So, you know, it's got some very sensual aspects to it with a nice tartness from the cherry that kind of brightens it up. And the almond and vanilla make it really sweet and sensual, and then the leather helps to masculinize it a little bit, so that way it's not quite... otherwise, it would smell a little bit like Guerlain's female offering, Mon Guerlain. I think this and that fragrance smell somewhat similar. But like I said, the leather helps to really make this a man's fragrance, and one of the best ones, incredible compliment getter, one of the most visceral women's reactions fragrance I've had. Like oftentimes when I get a compliment, it's usually someone just saying you smell good, but when I get compliments on this one, they're saying that I smell good with a little bit of a lustful tone in their voice, let's just say. So that's the number 2 spot, L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. And very difficult to follow up Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum, but this is, you know, not my favorite fragrance of all time, but really close to my favorite fragrance of all time, and that is Dior Homme Intense. So my favorite fragrance of all time is Dior Homme Parfum, but I went with Dior Homme Intense because it's a little bit easier to find and it is a little bit more wearable. So you can get away with this in a few more situations, but if you're not familiar with this fragrance, it's just a beautiful iris, leather, a little bit of a cacao kind of chocolatey sensation going on, even though I think they don't have chocolate in the note breakdown, but there's like some ambrette or something of that nature that gives it that sweet, sensual, powdery aspect to it in combination with the iris. Definitely get your hands on this one if you haven't already. I think it's worth, you know, I think that it's going for like $100 at discounters right now. They recently removed it from the US market, so maybe try to get your hands on it now before prices run up because of the supply and demand discrepancies that'll be going on. Although Dior Homme Original is not in the US market, and that one's still kind of available at places like Joma Shop and other discounters. But number 1 spot, best February fragrance, perfect for date night occasions. This is Dior Homme Intense. Alright, so I appreciate you sticking with me to the end of this video. Let me know what your top picks for February and date night occasions are in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.